We get to talk to a player who played with the Green Bay Packers back in the 60s, won multiple championships with them. He also played his college ball at LSU. Pro Football Hall of Famer Jim Taylor. How you doing, Jim?
Doing fine this morning. Good to hear from you and look forward to being with you and enjoy your program.
So when you went to LSU, basically, was that where you were going to go all throughout high school for college, being that you were from Louisiana, or were you looking at other colleges?
Well, I got invited to go to other colleges, but I had, made a couple of trips to other colleges and visited those and came back home and said, no, I'm going to stay in Baton Rouge here at my own Louisiana State University College in my hometown here in Baton Rouge.
Now, back then, Paul Dietzel was just getting pretty
Charlie
much started
McClendon
at
was
LSU.
Here my first year, and then Dietzel came, I think, my junior year. Yeah. But and then Charlie Mack went to the defensive coordinator of the Tiger team.
What was football like at LSU back then?
Pardon?
What was football like down there at LSU?
It's good sound football. They were, the LSU stadium is in a horseshoe, and they were looking to enlarge it. Now they're finishing up with huge, growth and building and things now. And this is, 40, 50 years ago.
A little different from when you were
from
when you were playing down there.
Yes, but it's still good football. The SEC with Florida and Georgia and Ole Miss and these good teams. The SEC year in and year out have good sound competitive teams.
And you had a teammate who also went on to the NFL, Billy Cannon. What was he like back then?
Well, Billy Cannon and Johnny Robinson, which were with the Kansas City Chiefs as a defensive back. And Billy went on. The AFL was coming into existence, so he was courted by the Houston Oilers, Bud Adams, and then later on the San Diego or the Oakland Raiders is who he ended up with most of his career. And he was a running back at the college level, and then they moved him to tight end. You know that he became a tight end with the Oakland Raiders and not necessarily a college running back. And Johnny Robinson went to the defense, the safety. He was a running back and played, And then here at LSU, we were playing both ways. I was middle linebacker. I had probably better defensive and middle linebacker games than I did running the ball because, it was just run between the tackles and throw short passes and put your defense out there.
Did you enjoy playing defense more than offense?
Go ahead.
Did you enjoy playing defense more than offense?
Well, you just stay. You didn't come off like the platoon system. In the fifth team would go like, which was the first team, the second was defense, the third team was more so some defense also. So, it was just a different type of format back in when the NCAA changed their thinking, their format, and the playing with different teams would just go out all 11 men, on defense, and boom, you keep them in there 6 or 8 or 12 plays, and boom, they're out. They may not go in the rest of the game.
How much of a change was it when you got drafted by Green Bay and had to go up to Wisconsin and enjoy the lovely winters?
Well, it's a specialization, and I stepped right in. And being a running back, I caught some passes at the college level, and and you're blocking on big defensive ends or blitzers and linebackers coming in, to protect your quarterback. So it's a level of moving up and maturing and becoming a more polished player because you're just playing that position, the running back position or fullback and then Paul Horning had come the year before, and he was the halfback and I was the fullback. And Ron Kramer came from Michigan, the good basketball player and tight end, and he stepped right in. Both those, played their freshman year.
And it helped, too, having an offensive line. Like you said, you had Jerry Kramer, you had Forrest Gregg, Jim Ringo, and Bart Starr we talked to the other day, and he said the best player, or one of the best players in that line, was the left tackle.
Mm-hmm. Bob Skoronski.
Exactly. He
Correct.
said that he was just as good as Forrest Gregg in his opinion.
Now, your first season, you go there and the Packers go 1-10-1.
Yeah.
And do you say to yourself, "What's going on here?"
Well, no, it's a shocker, and I didn't play running back. I was on special teams, and Scooter McLean came from the Detroit Lions as the head football coach. You got to see the whole big picture. Then Lombardi came the following year in 59. All right, I got there in 58, and like you say, we won one game, and it was a learning or an experience where you had a very weak team, lots of older players and things, and then we got Ray Nitsky, and we got Willie Davis, and we got some other, that we traded for. Henry Jordan was picked up, by the Packers and so and so. So it's a bigger picture. Even though we were, we stunk it up, and in the first year with one victory. So, and it was my first year, and I only played over in California. We left Detroit after we played our Thanksgiving Day game and went on to California to play L.A. and San Francisco. And I think they realized the coach was gone, so I was put in to be the running back there in both those games. And we didn't win, but I gained over, I think, 120, 100 and some odd yards in both games, but we lost them. So, I think I had the feeling and the shock of saying, well, I think I can play this professional football as a running back.
What was it like when Vince Lombardi came in there?
Well, he just, just going to sit down and everybody was going to be involved, and he knew what he wanted to do and how he wanted to coach this team and how he wanted to lead them. And we had, overall so talent because we got some good draft picks, in the first year or two. And so we were in the championship in 1960. His second year, I think. We were 7-5 his first year from the 1-10-1. 1-10-1's my rookie year. The second year was 7-5. The next year we're playing the Philadelphia Eagles in Franklin Field for the championship of the National Football League. It was a pretty swift and short turnaround.
And you guys lost to the Eagles 17-13, and the Eagles in '58 were the only team that you beat your rookie season.
Okay,
so
right.
So to go from that to the championship game, what was that feeling like?
Well, it's it's a real big step up in class, and knowing that you really moved up a few extra skips, up towards the top to compete against solid football teams. And here you were 1-10-1, so you have to leave the outhouse and try and move closer to the penthouse.
I think this is a record that will never be broken. Vince Lombardi only lost one playoff game in his entire career, and that was that Eagle game. That's That's truly amazing. Do you think anyone could do what he did?
It is. That is amazing as you look back. And well, he just was an assistant coach at the high school level, and then the Army, and then went on to the New York Giants. And he just knew what he wanted to do with all his experience and all the different coaches and teams and all. And when he got to Green Bay, he said, "This is the formula this is the format for playing championship football. And then we started to put together the personnel at all the positions. Like, now we've got 10 in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, 5 on defense and 5 on offense, and Dave Robinson, I think, makes number 11. So it's you can see the tradition and the history of the Green Bay Packers of establishing, after Lombardi arrived, the great team and the great concept of teamwork on both sides of the ball. He just wouldn't let anyone be bigger than the team, and everyone was expected to play and do their job and be a very very tough and good football player.
Now, you won the NFL rushing title in 1962. That was the only year Jim Brown didn't lead the league during Brown's career.
Mm-hmm.
How were you able to do that?
Well, by outstanding blocking and outstanding coaching, and me making my contribution with the football.
What makes it even more incredible was, like you said, you had Paul Hornung in the backfield with you, so you were splitting time. Can you imagine how many yards you'd have if Paul wasn't back there?
Yeah. Well, and I think he was, that was 62 are you talking about, right? Okay, I
Correct.
think he was suspended that year.
Oh, I thought it was 63. I'll have to go back and look. I thought it was 63 was suspended.
Okay, all right. Well, he was there, but I think he was injured, son, so we had Elijah Pitts and Tom Moore from Vanderbilt. Those two running backs were, I think, very, very active, and in the replacement of Paul. You go back and check some of your, this is just kind of that's 50, long time ago, and so just to my memory, maybe it's.
I might be wrong too. You never know.
Mm-hmm. Well, check it all and see, because it's just so long ago, It's just all these games, and trying to spin the Rolodex to come up with some factually, from that length of that time ago.
I may be wrong, but I don't remember you ever losing yards carrying the ball.
Huh? Probably not very many.
If Bart Starr handed the ball off to Jim Taylor, you knew he was going to get you some yards. So if it was,
Mm-hmm.
3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever it was,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You could be fairly confident that you would get the yardage.
Mm-hmm.
What was the key to this, other than just the offensive line? What was there a key to your success?
Well, sure, because they was very explosive. They come off the football, and I was able to get to the line of scrimmage, and the teams that maybe had some different stunt zone, they call, stunts where they'll all go strong to the right or left or whatever. And being able to read our offensive linemen's blocking and maximizing the yardage on that play. And me as a runner, I just got acclimated and really, it's just a matter of really quick decisions and having, split vision, to be able to see the blocking and things and being quick and have good balance and all, our running game was, I style my running after that and then just maximize and trying to stay low and do the things, as an instinctive type as a runner.
You were right. Paul Hornung was hurt in 1962 and only played in 9 games.
62. Was he suspended, I think, maybe?
60.
That was the year that Alex Karras and I think, was suspended for the gambling or whatever, that Pete Rozelle or whoever it was,
How did that affect?
You'd have to go back.
How did that affect the team when he got suspended?
Well, we knew we had some good backups with Tom Moore and Elijah Pitts, and we might have had, and some other players, some running backs that could plug in if we had some injuries to our first teamers. And I was so fortunate and lucky. I didn't miss too many games. I didn't have too many injuries in my whole career. I had no all my joints now, my ankles, my knees, my hips, my shoulders, and all functional. Didn't have any procedures or surgery or anything in my 10 years at the professional level.
What player tackled you to the hardest?
Well, probably all your middle linebackers, probably Joe Smith and Sam Huff and Andy Robustelli, or some outside linebackers. And the Chicago Bears had good ones. Detroit had them, and the Giants had them, and different teams always had came up with and your defensive ends and Cat Cabbage and the Colts. Marchetti, Gino Marchetti, had some great players, defense in those years,
And it didn't help going against Ray Nitschke, I'm sure, in practice.
No, it wasn't. And during the week, and Ray was a great player and a very aggressive player, and they just led our defense, and they were so strong. People, I don't think maybe give them all the credit that they're deserving. The Packer defense, they talk about Art Starr and the receivers and Horning and myself, but the defense had outstanding players. I mean, they were just solid. Just game in and game out, they were just so productive, and just got the job done and kept teams from scoring and kept teams, just shut them down.
After the Packers won their first championship under Lombardi, did the players realize this could be the start of a dynasty?
A dynasty like that? I don't think so. I don't know that, I mean, we really wanted to follow them. We wanted leadership because it hadn't been at the Packers then. They were just starving for leadership and for, because the Horning team, I think, went 2-10 or whatever, and we went the 1-10, the worst in Packer history. So it was just a complete turnaround, but the personnel was there. It was just a matter of getting the teamwork and the players to to work together to maximize, to show exactly what we could accomplish. And with the talent we had and the players and with the Lombardi's leadership and this type of motivational, so it all come together, and we just maximize and the 12-2 season or the 11-3, were just pretty good seasons with some young players, and Lombardi only being there 2 or 3 years, not like him being there 8 or 10 years, and these things starting to happen. So it started from the grassroots, and we started to build, and it went real fast, because the talent was there and the leadership was there, and the productivity and the results were evident.
In that first Super Bowl, could you believe that he let Max McGee play in that game after he was out all night, or did Lombardi not know that?
yeah, these are some good stories. I don't know whether I could, it's it is what it is. But yeah, he's a different type player, and he was phenomenal. He had some experience down in New Orleans, where he went with Tulane. So surely he had some experience on Bourbon Street, and here he is up with the Green Bay, and everybody knows you, and all over, all over a little small Green Bay. So, it's he didn't, I possibly that happened, but he still came to play. He was a good competitor, and he, I remember seeing him play at Tulane in his college days. He was a running back at that level at that time, and they moved him to the wide out, not the tight end or anything. You know what his nickname was, don't you?
No, what was it?
Paperhead. he wouldn't really stick his head in there to make a whole lot of blocks. You couldn't find him on running plays maybe, but he was a good competitor and had great hands, and and a good leader on our team with his with his humor.
Who did Lombardi find the most during his tenure? You think Paul Hornick, Max McGee, or somebody else?
No, probably one of those two would be the top ones that they got fined for late or not being in bed or a female being in the room with them. Who knows? Yeah. So it's yeah.
So it wasn't your job to keep tabs on Horning?
No, I wasn't involved in social life there in Green Bay. I came to the Green Bay Packers to play football in that little town, and I was a pretty straight shooter. I really dedicated myself to training and fitness, and I said I'm going to be the best physical conditioned player on this football team because I knew I was going to get the ball 25, 28 times, game in and game out, and I needed my fitness level to be at the peak.
You had all those stars, like you mentioned. You had 11 Hall of Famers in that team. How did Lombardi keep the Eagles in check, or whose team was it, or was it basically Lombardi's team?
Well, you see, back in those days, the egos and the all about me did not exist. Our football team was not individually hungry to be on television, on the newspaper, this or that. They just wanted to be their team player and do their job. This is my attitude sitting here in my house today. I wanted to play football and be the best football player. I wouldn't worry about the money or about the publicity or whether I'd get all pro or this or that. This wasn't the mentality of our football team and myself at the ringleader. Today's players have a little different perspective and have a little different attitude than our football team. You can take that, and it's valid from a lot of our football players: Forrest Gregg and Fuzzy Thurston and Jim Ringo and Willie Wood and Herb Adley and Willie Wood. These people came to be oriented to be team concept. It's just so hard for anybody in today's generations to understand that. I mean, you can put it in print, you can tell them over and over and over, and it just doesn't resonate or doesn't penetrate to their perceptive. You see where I'm coming from, or am I over?
No,
overkill?
You're exactly right. It's a different game today. I don't know if free agency and the money ruined it or not.
Well, but the game itself on the field is no different. Okay, none. It's still played with the 4 to 5 second. Follow me real closely. Intervals on either side of the ball. Once Bart Starr calls that play and snaps the ball, it's 1,000, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4. Plays over with. So you have 70 of those. Having the ball in the play 12 to 13 minutes out of the 3 hours. This is what the average fan cannot possibly comprehend. And this is the way the football game is played. And this is some of Lombardi's beliefs and his inspiration and his leadership that he instilled in our Packer football team, that this is the way it's played, with explosion off, whether it's a running play or passing play, it does not matter. And you go, the play's over with, you go off the field, you can continue the first down. Do you follow me?
No, you're exactly right. People don't realize it.
And nobody realizes it. The fans, the sportscasters, nobody wants to talk about the basis of really what the game of football is: explosion and doing your job and blocking and tackling and moving those chains. Well, first down, here again, I was a back that I was going to, run and pick up that whatever yards and move the chains, and so but the average fan can't cannot possibly understand or comprehend what I'm telling you right here on this phone.
What was Lombardi's pep talk like before the first Super Bowl?
Well, I mean, it's just in retrospect, go back and what did we do all the week? We worked on the first downs. We worked on explosion. We worked on getting yourself mentally tough to play the game against the opponent. You look at films all week against your opponent, the middle linebacker, who I'm going to be this, and the lineman, or evaluating and looking at the people they're going to block either on the run or pass. And then you go back, and once the game's over with, then the Monday morning or whatever, then you start to look at where you broke down and what it cost you, and if you lost, then let's amplify these situations where I did, or Boris Gregg, or whoever, was the reason that we lost. Or if we winning and we exploding, you go 12-2 and 13-1, and you're not concerned. But you have to go back over and recoup and work on your weak points and your breakdowns. To try and Lombardi tried to get you to be perfect, which is impossible. Okay, for any player to block 100% on pass and 100% on run.
Lombardi was at New York. He was the offensive coordinator, and Landry was the defensive coordinator. Was there more of a rivalry between those two guys when you guys played the Cowboys, that he wanted to beat the Cowboys more than any other team?
No, not really. It's just that you're there to do your job, and you love competition. This is the point. Forget about all this media and all this talk and all this crap. Let's put the ball on the field, and this is the only thing I had in my head. Let's put it on there. Let me hit these guys. Give me the ball. See? I mean, you're excited about exploding and doing your job, and the fans to enjoy it, and for you to make field goals and touchdowns and win. That's the ultimate thing. And we have our 11 on offense and 11 on defense. And here again, the fan cannot understand that either. You can write and you can talk and things, but I could preach this over and over and over, and the fans would not understand it. If I had a big 1,000 people or whatever, I could go down through there and talk to them face to face.
Is there any coach in today's game who you think gets the closest to understanding how the game should be played?
Well, your New England coach, and maybe there's a few of them, but here again, they've got to get the following and get the players to play for them, and that's the breakdown. Today's players will just rebel. See, it's kind of like I know it. It's know-it-all type attitude. I know it all. I don't need any advice. I don't this and that. And this is a team concept in a football team that you're trying to play with. So it's very difficult in today's generations to be able to break that barrier.
And Lombardi did a great job, because Herb Adderley said there wasn't a racist bone in his body. He kept that team together. He basically kept us in line, and everyone respected Lombardi.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's the real true. And this is a difficult time with the leadership and all your 32 teams to be able to accomplish that, even come close to it. It's just such a far stretch. I can't reach my arms far enough to say, well, this is the difference in how far apart and how that they're not being successful in what you're just saying. You see where I'm coming from? And that's why after about 4 or 5 games, and these teams are 4-1 or 5-0, then their season's over, because they can't reach down and don't have the guts and the fortitude and everything else that goes into being successful, and they'll just blow it off and say, well, let's get the season over with. And only the teams that have a 6-1 or 8-2 or whatever record can continue to compete. I mean, that those teams that are after the half the season or something saying, well, we're going to continue to fight to get in the playoffs. The other teams, the other 20, 25 teams said, well, let's cash it in. This season's over. Let's take our money and go home. It wasn't like that with the Giants and the Cleveland teams and the Chicago Bears and the Packers. That was not the attitude of the football players. when I played. See where I'm coming from? And this is the God's truth. This ain't no bullshit. I ain't smoking mirrors. You know, I'm laying it on you. I mean, you getting this interview, you won't get something like this from anybody, I promise you.
What was it like when you left Green Bay to go to the New Orleans Saints? Did you know that was going to be your last year?
I probably had a sense that it was, sure, because of the expansion team, and you got players from all the other ones, and I came home and to New Orleans, to Louisiana, and joined the expansion team, and that was it. So I made my choice to play with that team, and at the end of that one season, I said I will go into scouting and radio and continue to fulfill my contractual agreements. And this is surely it was understood that this could possibly happen after 1 year of playing. Yeah, there wasn't anybody in the dark. There wasn't any living in denial that my career was coming to an end, and I was willing to accept it and move on. No, there's no smoke and mirrors here either,
Because it was you were drafted by him and Paul Hornig, but Paul never played a game with the Saints.
Well, he was never on the team. He didn't pass the physical.
It's probably for being out too. It was probably for being out too much in Bourbon Street there.
Well, probably so. Yeah, his dancing was more of a priority than football. He was ready to throw it in and really put the toe the tippy toe the shoe, the dancing and singing or whatever than football.
Do you think Jerry Kramer's ever going to get in the Hall of Fame? I know Dave Robinson's going in this year, but I feel bad for Kramer. He's one of the top players in his era. He was in the 50th anniversary team. He's the only member not in the Hall of Fame. I don't understand why he's not in yet.
Yeah. Well, this is the voters that nominate and vote in players year in and year out. So I can't give you any answers, any response on that because I have no idea. With Fuzzy Thurston and Ron Kramer and this and that, whoever, Willie Wood and Herb Adley's in there, and different, So and Dave Robinson, very deserving, and we'll be there this year for him going in probably at the 50th anniversary. So so we look forward to Dave and him being presented, and All right, how we doing? We're about to close it, shut it down here.
Yeah, my last question: what was it like when you went in the Hall of Fame?
Well, it's just a great feeling to be there and recognized by your peers and at the hall there, and it's just a wonderful feeling that that you're just cherishing the moment, and you just it's kind of just move on. It'd be like you scoring a touchdown or having the winning catch or this. It's just a real gratifying, self-satisfying, feeling that you achieved or competed, and the ultimate is to do the best job you can do, and this is giving you the recognition, and then you move on. That's it. Put it behind you, and then continue to climb more mountains.